19 days for Christmas shopping, 19 days to fill the stocking, 19 days for Christmas shopping, only got 19 more.
Hi there, Christmas is coming. Have you done your Christmas shopping? Only 19 days left.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Hey, this is H.C. Loke. You're checking out the All Bets Are Off podcast with Robbie Vegas.
What's up, rock soldiers? This is the rock star Robbie Vegas coming at you with another episode of the All Bets Are Off podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. And today, my guest is Vita Vonstarr. We're going to dig into her wrestling career, where she got started, some inspirations, dream matches, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you stick around, listen to that interview. And as always, let us know what you think. Jump on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, ABAO Pod, on all of the above. And we run a lot of polls, we're very interactive, and we're growing like crazy lately, so jump on, get on board with that now. Make sure you let us know what you think, and let us know what you like to hear and what you want to hear more of. So before we get Vita on the phone, I do need to let you guys know that today's episode is presented by Sweat Connected. Sweat Connected is a transformative way to work out. Sweat Connected has a mission to help you feel your best. Each expert instructor brings their signature method directly to you, wherever you are in the world via Zoom. When you take a Sweat Connected class, you're able to interact with your instructor and the other participants in the class just like you would in a live studio experience. Whether you've been a group fitness participant for years or you're newer, you'll feel at home with Sweat Connected. So Sweat Connected is exclusively offering our listeners 50% off their first class by going to sweatconnected.com and using the code POD. That's code POD at sweatconnected.com for 50% off your first class. Sweat Connected for all levels, all ages, all sizes, and all humans. So, before we get Vita on the phone, guys, here is a quick clip from my album, Angels and Demons. This is called Good Witch, Bad Bitch. So, Vita, thank you so much for being on the All Bets Are Off podcast for your first time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, I want to jump in immediately, and I need to know when you first discovered that you had a love for professional wrestling.
I really didn't discover a love for professional wrestling till later on in life. Honestly, growing up as a kid, I didn't really watch it. It was always on, I guess, just my circle of friends wasn't really into it, but I was always into performing. I was always into training as an athlete. So then about five and a half years ago, I knew some girls who had started training, and they were like, yeah, you should try it. And that was kind of like my gateway. I was just like, oh, okay, this looks cool. And I just fell in love with it as soon as I started training. And then, obviously I started watching it way, now I'm like a huge fan, of course. So, I had a lot of catching up to do. But, I, definitely got hooked into the whole thing.
So you said you were an athlete to begin with, so what were you into before wrestling?
I did a lot of things. I was a gymnast as a kid, so that was my first love of movement. I always loved tumbling and flipping around, so obviously that translates pretty well.
Right.
I skateboarded and snowboarded for more than 15 years before I started wrestling, so I was already used to taking a lot of shitty bumps. That was not new. And my shoe job for the last 10 years or so has been being a circus performer, and more specifically, I'm an aerialist, and I hang from things from the ceiling and flip around. So everything that I did prior sort of converged into pro wrestling.
So that explains the upside-down entrance.
Yep, that's just what I do.
So where did you actually train?
I started out at Chikara. I was there for about 3 years, and wasn't really going anywhere, so I left to train at the Worldwide Dojo with Cheeseburger and Sumi Sakai. So I've been there for a couple years now, and things have been awesome. I love the dojo, and I can't say enough good things about Cheeseburger and Sumi, and Delirious trains with us about once a month there. It's just been an overwhelmingly positive experience, which, was led me to Ring of Honor, which has been super amazing. So we're a little plug here. We're always looking for new students, no matter where you are in your training. Worldwide Dojo is like awesome vibes, super positive training environment. So if you're in the Philly area looking for a place to go or expand your training, definitely check out Worldwide Dojo.
Okay, very cool. So they're in direct affiliation with Ring of Honor then, right?
Yeah, more or less. It is the old Ring of Honor dojo before they moved to Baltimore. Cheeseburger just took everything over. But, we, a lot of Ring of Honor people float in and out and do, guest training days and stuff like that, so.
Okay, very cool. So who, so far in your career, are some of your favorite opponents?
I really enjoyed wrestling Riley Shepard. I had a match with her a few months ago. It was actually my first match back from COVID. She was great to wrestle with. I love wrestling Corinne Mink. Both of them train with Damian Adams, so he is well known for, working with really great female talent. Damaris Albright, she is someone I train with at the dojo. So I wrestle her a lot, and she's awesome. We just have really good chemistry. We have actually not had a match on a show together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, weirdly enough. She hasn't really been doing a lot, or booking a lot of shows from, COVID and everything. I train with her all the time. We've had, tons of practice matches. I really would love to wrestle her on a show at some point, so any promoters out there listening, Vita Vonstarr and Damaris Albright would be a great match.
And you're hearing it first right here on All Bets Are Off. Just saying. So you mentioned the pandemic earlier when you were talking about your favorite opponents. So how has it been finding work during the pandemic and trying to get back into it? Is it coming naturally, or are you out there just seeking any company that's willing to run right now? What's going on?
I'm definitely not just seeking any company. I think that the precautions have to be in place. Over the summer, it was great because there were a lot of outdoor shows going on, and I feel pretty comfortable with that, outside situation. Mm-hmm. All the shows that I've been to, fans are really good about wearing masks and everything like that. Everyone was really respectful. But honestly, I'm still, freaked out about it. I'm in Philly, so cases are surging around here in this area, and I'm really not going to put myself at risk for, just any indie show.
Yeah.
It has to be someone that I either really want to wrestle or a company that I really want to work for. Sadly, I've seen, so many things get canceled. It's a really unfortunate situation. Traveling has been very difficult. So anything that I had booked out of town, most things have either gotten pushed back or canceled. It's a real unfortunate situation, so I definitely don't feel like things have bounced back, and I think there's definitely limited opportunities and stuff that's out there. It's just who knows? It's you might have a show booked a month from now, but who knows what's happening a month from now. So it's a sad situation, and I'm constantly bummed out by it.
Yeah, it really is. I'm in Buffalo, so I'm not too far from you, and it's surging here again also. Mm-hmm. And I haven't had a match since March. And it's you can't, it's too hard to leave the state. It's too hard to do anything. So
yeah, it sucks. It sucks so bad. Because normally I would be at shows every weekend, or have multiple shows every weekend. And now it's once a month, maybe. Hopefully it still happens. But it sucks.
Yeah,
the whole thing sucks.
For sure. Well, since we're talking about, you mentioned companies that, you might really want to work for or that you really trust, who are some of your favorite companies to work for?
Well, Ring of Honor, obviously.
Yes.
But, Yeah, I was supposed to be going down for Generation Championship Wrestling in Florida. They're having an awesome women's tournament coming up soon. Yeah, it's like early December. It was supposed to happen already, and I was booked for it. Then it got pushed back because of COVID. And then the reschedule I couldn't make because Ring of Honor tapings are like 2 days after, and they're super strict about quarantining. So I can't make it to that one right now. You know, it's, again, just like COVID crap. But that was one I was really looking forward to. I still suggest, if you can make it or check out the show in any way, still give them support because it's a great lineup, a really good card. So that's one that hopefully I'll be working for. But locally around Pennsylvania area, Atomic Championship Wrestling is always a really fun one. Goddesses of War, they were running pretty regularly over the summer, and their women's division is awesome. That's where I wrestled Riley Shepard, and they book really great female talent. So they're relatively new, but I've had a great time every time I've been there as well.
Okay, very cool. So you mentioned that you got into wrestling later in life, so you had some catching up to do. So when you looked back and you were watching and studying, who were you inspired by?
One of the first matches I watched was Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, Halloween Havoc. So I've just always been like a huge fan of Rey Mysterio ever since I became a fan of wrestling. Well, both of them, actually. You know, both of them are so good. And that's amazing. So Rey Mysterio is a huge one for me. I love Chyna because, you know, she's just the ultimate badass, you know?
Yep.
So, you know, she was a big one. Then, you know, just because of my background and everything, another one of the first matches I had watched when I started training was Ricochet and Will Ospreay. That match is amazing, you know? It's like not everyone's cup of tea, but it made sense to me where I was like, okay, this looks like they did this a lot of times. Like, they rehearsed this, and, you know, their spots are amazing. So, you know, like, choreographed wrestling, you know, I come from a background where we choreograph and rehearse everything, you know, a million times before we put it on stage. So all the flips and every, you know, I love like the flippy spots and the high spots. Like, you know, obviously it has to make sense psychology wise. You know, and you don't understand psychology at all when you first start training. But yeah, that was a big one for me too. It's, you know, I was just like, oh, this is so cool. Like, these are like the moves I want to do.
So that kind of like spoke to your personal background.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
And how did you get into that? You said you're like an aerial artist.
Yeah, I had just started out as a student, and it's kind of same situation where I always loved climbing things, like climbing ropes, climbing trees as a kid. I always wanted to be up high on stuff, and it's, you know, a big part of being in the circus. It's a lot of conquering fears, but, you know, like, because I had done skateboarding and snowboarding previously, so I was like already used to like jumping off of cliffs and like throwing myself into stuff. So being 30 feet up high in the air, you know, upside down, wasn't like a fear that I had to get over. And, you know, I already had like prior conditioning and stuff like that. So, and that's like a big barrier for a lot of people starting out. But I had always trained my body to push myself to the limits. So I just got hooked right away. I became a coach. That was like my side job for a long time, coaching, and you know, performing was my main thing. So I just always, you know, prioritized going out on the road and you know, being involved with different events and different companies. As, you know, a performer, you're basically a freelancer, you're an independent contractor, unless you're you know, sometimes you'll get a contract, like a longer contract with one company that you're like locked in for a minute. But yeah, it just felt really natural to just do these things, and, you know, I just like follow your heart. You know, I'm not a person who can like work at a desk or work in a cubicle. So I basically just sought out any opportunities that were not at all the status quo.
It seems very similar to the pro wrestling business, the way that you just described it, with the being on the road and sometimes contracts and things like that. So I would assume that when you progressed into wrestling, it was just kind of like, oh yeah, I've kind of done this before.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the entertainment industry is always the same. You know, like each industry in entertainment has its like own kind of things, and wrestling definitely does 100% like kind of have like its own way of doing things that no one other industry really does. But at the end of, you know, entertainment is entertainment, and it basically functions the same.
So when you go back and watch, you know, things from the past, do you just take people's recommendations, or what do you do for yourself to go back and kind of backtrack since you got into it later on?
You know, I feel like it's always a rabbit hole. You know, I'm always looking, like, I watch so much women's wrestling, you know, so, you know, if I look up, you know, China, and then I'm just like, I'll just, like, watch all these, like, old Raw episodes, whatever, on the network, and just see, you know, see where the network takes me, or, you know, normally I'll look up, like, female wrestlers that I've seen that I like on YouTube, and then see who else she's wrestled, or who else, you know, what other companies she's worked for. And, yeah, I definitely take recommendations for sure. You know, in training, we like to study matches and talk about psychology and stuff like that. So, you know, our trainers are always giving us recommendations and stuff. I mean, I watch independent wrestling TV all the time.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, I follow Beyond, and, you know, a lot of people in Beyond, and, you know, see whatever else is on the indies, whatever pops up on the front page. There's a lot of ways I consume it, and, yeah, it's definitely like one of those rabbit hole situations where you just, you know, 3 hours later,
yeah.
4 hours later, you're like...
You're not where you were supposed to be because you got sucked into YouTube.
Exactly.
So, who are some people that you think you want to have, like, what would be like a dream match for you right now?
I would love to wrestle Sumi. I wrestled her a couple times on, like, independent shows, and she doesn't really do very often, actually. But my dream match is to have a women's championship match for Ring of Honor, Sumi Sakai. You know, we don't really have a women's championship right now, and, you know, obviously everything's, like, in a weird state with COVID. We are doing tapings again, which has been great, and there are plans for some more women's content in the not-too-distant future. So that's like a, you know, that's just me. Who knows if that could, like, happen, you know, there's a chance that could happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would love to have a chance to wrestle Sumi or compete for the women's championship in any capacity.
So you said Ring of Honor is now doing the TV tapings again and all that. Is it different and strange to not have the crowd there while you're doing these tapings? Is it hard to get in that zone and become who you are in the ring, or is it just something that's just automatically a flip of a switch for you?
It's definitely super weird. You know, I mean, I've done like all kinds of work as far as like live theatrical performances and like on camera stuff, which is like a little more intimate, and you perform a little differently for a camera than you would for a big audience, and you perform different for a small audience than you would for a big audience. But it's definitely weird because in a wrestling context, you know, having a crowd there is a huge part of it. And yeah, not hearing any noise when, like, you know, because I'll be, like, backstage watching matches, and, you know, the Ring of Honor roster is amazing. Like, so many of those guys are amazing. They're doing amazing stuff in the ring, and then I'm like, you know, I'm, like, as a fan watching it backstage, like, getting excited, and I like, want to make noise, but they're, you know, it's this weird, sterile, like, you know, it's definitely strange. It has its ups and downs, you know, but, yeah, it sucks because, you know, as you want to react with the audience, you know, you want to mess with the audience being a heel, and, you know, like, as a baby, you know, if you're a baby face, you want to, you know, that interaction is important, so hopefully we'll have that sometime again soon.
You want to hear that big pop when a big move happens, you know? Exactly.
Yeah, it's weird when there's no pops. It's just like, and like, you know where the pops should be.
Yeah.
But it's weird.
Yeah.
Hopefully hopefully we'll have crowds again soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that one. If I were to ask you right now, what are a couple things on your bucket list in the wrestling business before you're finished, what comes to mind first?
Definitely more travel. I would love to go spend some time in Japan and train with them and do some shows over there. I would love to go to Mexico and spend a few months training with the Lucha guys, because I've always been a big fan of Lucha, and Lucha's really hard, and it's hard to find places that will teach it, so that would be awesome. Yeah, I would love to have some more high-profile matches. I would love to, like I said before, not just have a chance at Ring of Honor Women's Championship, but, that's, of course, I want to win the Women's Championship. So, yeah, that's definitely a big goal of mine.
Okay, very cool. So on this show, there's a few topics that we cover besides wrestling, so I'm going to hit you with a couple different questions outside of wrestling. Music. Is there any kind of music that you get pumped up to even before matches or in the gym or anything like that? What do you lean towards?
I'm a big metal fan.
Who are some of your favorite bands?
I really like the extreme side of things, but overall my favorite band of all time is Black Sabbath.
Nice.
But I love like Cannibal Corpse and like all the old school death metal, Obituary, the old school thrash metal bands like Testament, Exodus, stuff like that. I love doom metal. I love like the slow, dissonant kind of doom metal. So sometimes I'll just be in the mood to just like mellow out. Some Uncle Acid or something like that. But that's usually on my rotation.
That's your go-to stuff.
Something
Cannibal Corpse are from my hometown.
I'm such a fan. Ever since I was a kid, I love them. Yeah.
So, did you discover them like I did by watching Ace Ventura?
Yes, that was totally my first exposure. Totally.
I just had to ask. Everybody says that, and I'm like, I swear, that's when everybody was like, who is that?
Yeah, classic scene. It's one of the best scenes in cinematic history.
I agree. I'm on board.
So good.
Another curveball question, and this will have absolutely nothing to do with wrestling. Are you a fan of horror movies?
Of course.
Okay, so now we're going to dig into this for a minute, because we're huge horror people over here. So, who are some of your favorite, I was going to say horror villains, but what are some of your favorite horror movies in general?
Well, I have to say Devil's Rejects, because my faction, the Righteous and Ring of Honor, is largely inspired by Devil's Rejects. So I've always been a Rob Zombie fan of pretty much anything that he has done. One of my favorite horror movies of all time is Dead Alive. Have you ever seen it?
I have.
I feel like a lot of people don't know about it, and it's amazing.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It may be the goriest movie of all time, if not one of the most. But yeah, like Peter Jackson, pre-Lord of the Rings, and he did a bunch of like campy horror stuff.
Yes.
But Dead Alive, 100%. And then, of course, Army of Darkness trilogy.
Yes.
Bruce Campbell.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
I'm a huge horror nerd over here, so anything you say, I've probably seen it.
Yeah.
But
That's
yes.
like my top 3, for sure.
Okay, cool. So are you like horror all year long, and then you just amp it up for Halloween time?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm definitely one of those people that has Halloween decorations up year round, for sure.
Yeah, they're just your usual house.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. So our listeners are going to love that, by the way. Like, we did a whole 6 weeks of horror for Halloween, so.
Hell yeah. It's the happiest time of year, man. I was so sad this year. Like, Halloween is always, like, the busiest time of year for me with shows, not just with wrestling, but with circus and, like, everything. I'm always, like, booked the whole month, and, it's, like, before daylight savings time, where, like, everything gets cold and dark and shitty, and, so, like, the day after Halloween is always, like, kind of depressing for me, but, like, the whole month of October is the best, and then we just didn't have that this year, and it really bummed me out real bad.
Yeah, it was rough, especially with Halloween being on a weekend, and you knew there was going to be a bunch of stuff going on.
Terrible.
This is going to air in December, so what are some of your favorite Christmas horror movies?
Well, The Nightmare Before Christmas. I just love that movie so much. I love Tim Burton, and I just love the aesthetics. And I know it's, like, kind of cliche, but it's just, like, so whimsical and magical to me, and I still have the same fondness for it as I did when I was a kid.
Yeah, I was betting you were going to say that, but I thought there was a chance you would say Gremlins first.
I think it's a good one, too. I actually just rewatched that. I hadn't seen that one in ages, and then it was on during, some marathon or something. And, yeah, and they're so cute. They're so cute.
It's funny, too, because, you think that, and then as you're watching the movie, you're like, little fucking bastards.
Yep, totally.
All right, so just bringing it back to you in general, what's next for you? Do you have any matches coming up soon? Or are we still unsure what's happening? Just lay it out there, whatever you got coming up.
Yeah, honestly, it's so up in the air. We do have a lot of tapings next month, and there's some stuff going on that I can't say anything about, but there's some stuff going on. There's plans, hopefully there will be some more women's stuff going on pretty soon with that. But other than that, honestly, it's so up in the air. I do have a local show here at H2O for December. Hopefully it'll still happen, but, things are closing down around here. And gyms are closed, restaurants are closed, so... again, it's one of those things that who knows, week to week or month to month.
Yeah.
But other than that, we don't really have anything planned. I'm still training. We are still running classes, so that's been huge. It's been so nice to still be able to go to class. We train with masks on all the time, just so to be safe. Because things are really bad around here.
Yeah.
So just to be safe and take all the precautions. And other than that, I'm just trying to keep it going. Where I'm still keeping up with my skills, and I still work out every day. But it's hard to plan. So
right. I guess my final question for you is, since Christmas is coming, and I just asked you about these Christmas horror movies, would you be willing to send our podcast your top 3 Christmas horror movies? And when we do our episode, we'll read yours off with the rest of the list that we have also.
Absolutely. I'll definitely do that.
Awesome. So before you go, plug your social media, any merchandise, anything that you want people to know so they could follow you, keep up, whatever. Just throw it all out there for the listeners.
Yeah. Please follow me on Twitter, Vita Vonstarr, and Vita Vonstarr on Instagram, and that's VITAVONSTARR. You can also find me on Facebook. I do have a t-shirt out right now that is posted on all my stuff, and DM me if you want to get one. I have all sizes, hot off the press, and yeah, I'm always looking to talk to fans and interact and see what people are into. So hit me up, follow me, hit me up, and I'd love to have a chat.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much again for doing this. I really appreciate it. And when things get rolling again, hopefully we can have you back on.
Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Alright, rockers, so that was Vita Vonstarr. So if you haven't heard of her, you have now. I'm sure all you Ring of Honor fans are loving this one. It was a lot of fun, and it was cool learning about her background and how she got into pro wrestling. And I hope that you guys will follow her on Twitter and Instagram and grab yourself a t-shirt, man. Support, wrestling. Support wrestlers right now. Support any artists, entertainers, because we're getting hit just as hard. We can't be out there and growing and doing shows, plugging away like we normally do. So please, if you can spare it, grab shirts and support and just keep the wrestling business going, the entertainment business going. We are all very grateful and we do appreciate it. So thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time on the All Bets Are Off podcast. The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.